Okay, welcome TCU Horned Frogs. When you in preparation for this week's game, when you think of TCU, and I think of TCU going back, I think this is my fifth opportunity to go against Coach Patterson. You immediately think defense when it comes to his football teams. They're obviously in the in a similar situation to what we are here at West Virginia now, second year in the Big 12. Right now we're both 3-5. It's it's challenging. Last year I think we both finished 7-5. The Big 12 is challenging as we're figuring out. But when you think of TCU, it's all about the defense. They're really good on defense. They got a lot of returning starters. All 5 secondary guys from last year are returning starters. They're as good of a secondary as potentially as there is in college football. Was very impressed with them last year, and then after studying each and every one of their tapes this year, I'm even more impressed with them. But they have 7 or 8. I think they had 9 returning starters on defense coming back. They lost the field kids to the injury early. But with that said, they got a lot of returning guys, and they're very well coached. His defensive staff's been together for a while. Been doing the same thing at TCU for about 15 years now. So he's got tremendous continuity with the coaching staff and has recruited guys to do the same thing there over the last almost decade. So good against the run, great against the pass. They play the ball in the air well. They go after the ball. Don't rush the passer as well as they did last year. They lost the NFL guy, and then obviously with Fields being out. But guys have tremendous depth. They play a lot of people, and will be a challenge for our offense. As everybody is well aware, we haven't been playing winning football on offense, and we need to continue to improve. Our guys are continuing to improve, are eager and excited about their preparation, and we'll expect to do the same thing this week. But it's going to be a challenge for us. We got to figure out a way to move the ball. We got to figure out a way to get it in the end zone, and expect to do that. Offensively, they're searching a little bit offensively. They got great skill. They have 3 good running backs. They got 4 or 5 great receivers. They do have skill. They're obviously going to play 2 different quarterbacks. It seems like everybody in the Big 12 is facing the same thing at the quarterback position. And you got to be able to deal with that. You got to be able to get guys out there and move the ball. Our challenge defensively. The one thing about how Kansas State did it is they're 2 different quarterbacks. They kind of did different things, and their offensive approach was a little different compared to which one of the quarterbacks was in there. It's not necessarily the case with TCU. Whichever quarterback's in there, they're typically doing the same thing. So it would be a little easier for us to prepare for that. With that said, it's about making plays, and they got guys that are capable of making plays, so we need to continue to put our guys in position to make plays and make plays in critical situations. The one thing about last week that defensively we played well. In about 7 third downs we played poor. So in those critical situations we gotta step up and make things happen. Special teams, they're solid. Coach Patterson's always paid attention to that. Anytime you have a very disciplined, solid defensive football team, you're gonna be good on special teams. I do think that we broke even in the kicking game last week, for the exception of the PAT field goal unit where we got 1 blocked, and then we didn't execute the fake the way we needed to. Other than that, we broke even in the kicking game, which we knew was going to be a challenge because Kansas State was pretty good in the kicking game. TCU is the same way. You can tell they spend a lot of time with it. Their coverage units are fantastic. Their return units are even better. They have good return guys. It comes with the skill that they have on offense, and you can tell that they pay attention to it. So it's going to be a big week for us in the kicking game. It's going to be a huge week for us offensively to attack their defense, and then defensively we need to continue to get better. Want to give you an injury report. and everybody across the country deals with this time of the year. You know, we had 13 guys that were pretty much out for Kansas State. Ford's still out. He's probably a couple weeks away. Is healing, is started a progression, you know, to where he's going to start. He has started throwing, but we're going to ease him into it and try to increase his volume on a daily basis. Dustin Garrison will be out. He's still battling hamstring issues that has been bothering him for quite some time. Our long-term guys, Wes Tonkery's out for the year. He's going to have shoulder surgery. I don't know if I made that announcement to y'all or not. In addition to the guys that are out, Christian Brown, Nana, Kyram, Shaq Petaway, Tyler Tazzino, those guys are obviously done for the year as well. Pat Edgar left in the first quarter and hurt us. You know, he's who we lean on. Tyler Orlowski did do a good job of coming in and playing. Was proud of how he came in and stepped in there and got 3/4 of work out of there. But we need Pat in there. Pat's kind of the heart and soul of what we do up front. You know, by him coming out of the game in the first quarter was difficult for us. But I am proud of how Tyler went in and did that. But Pat will be day to day. Doubt he goes today, but should be able to get something out of him tomorrow. Doug Rigg, his second concussion of the year, is clearing, but we will have to monitor how he does today. He'll be non-contact. Hope to get him back. He'll be day to day. Darrell Worley's got a shin. He was progressing into an every down player at corner, and was not able to go. He's got a bad shin. Will be day to day, and we hope to get him back. We expect to get him back. Dontrell Hyman day to day, did not play in the game on Saturday. He's got an ankle that he suffered in the Tech game. He'll be day to day. Hopefully we get him back. Ricky Rump's got a foot, who's missed a couple of weeks. He's day to day. Hope to get him back as well. So that's where we stand injury wise. So with that, we'll take some questions.
Being along the injury lines or playing players, Darian Howard played against Kansas State. The thought behind that, and looking at the list, Dustin Garrison could qualify for a red shirt. Would you think of that?
Yeah, we're going to keep monitoring him. You know, he would qualify because his injury. You know, he hasn't practiced or played in I don't know how many games. I think it was before the Maryland game. He would qualify. Obviously, us being able to put bodies out there and for the next 4 weeks, I think would be important. But we'd do that if we could. And again, it depends on how he continues to progress. Right now, he's not ready to go. What was the other question? Howard. Yeah, we pulled his. He's been getting better. You know, he was a late guy in camp. I don't remember specifically when he got here midway through camp, but he's been progressing. It's been a weekly conversation for us for about a month. Do we play him? Do we not play him? Dontrell was out. So we needed to move Kyle Rose exclusively to end. And Kyle played really well at end for us. I mean, having him and Shaq and Will in there was good against a team like Kansas State to be able to stop the run, but it left us a nose short because Kyle's been getting in there playing some of the nose for us and didn't feel like we could do that. So made the decision to play him. He played about 15 snaps, and we'd look for him to play more than that this week.
Talk about TCU's pass rush, maybe being a little down from last year. They're still leading the conference in sacks. Yeah, how much of that has to do with the secondary, and how much of that is them just reloading those guys?
Yeah, I probably should have. That may have came out wrong. It's not to say that they're not capable of rushing the passer. It's just not having Fields, and then the one dude, the Maponga or something that they had last year against us. Those guys were. I mean, they're just NFL talents. They're still getting there. You know, they do a great job rushing the passer. Their secondary matches routes and covers as good as I've seen. Period. I mean, they're just really good at it. So the quarterback sits back there, and where do you throw? Well, there's nowhere to throw. Well, that rush gets there. But John Kuntz was played against us last year and gave us fits. So he's capable of it. Those two guys on the inside, the Chucky Hunter and the Davion Pearson, those guys do just a tremendous job of holding their gaps in the run game, but then understanding when it's run, when it's pass, when it's screen, and come upfield as well. So got capable people doing it. get to the quarterback well, but that pass coverage in the back is something special now.
Danny, you were talking about the defense playing well, except for about 7 third downs. So, and I'm looking back at your injury report here, and you've got maybe your best corner, one of your best pass rushers in Hyman, one of your nickel guys in Rumpf. Does that have anything to do with it, because those third downs are in that nickel package there?
Yeah, but what are you gonna do about it? You know, you gotta put people in there to you know, the next guy up thing pertains to that same very exact situation. So, you know, you want your best guys out there. Injuries affect everybody. You got, I mean, you know, shoot, I imagine TCU would like to have their best pass rushing defense end available for them as well. So, not going to use that as an excuse not to be successful. Never have, never will. You know, we were in position to make plays. We got to make plays. You know, we got to trust what everybody does, and we got to execute, you know, the proper coverage, as it's called. So, you know, regardless of who the bodies are, they need to know what to do. They need to get in. They need to do it to their best ability, and it's our job to coach them up to do so.
Dana, one name, I don't think you mentioned it, but maybe because it's no big deal, but Gross hadn't played for a while. Is he able?
He had a hamstring last week against Texas Tech. He pulled it on Wednesday or Thursday, so he was hampered against Texas Tech. The Kansas State game was not his type of a game.
Okay.
He's a little light. You know,
Okay.
he needs to mature. He needs to develop. He's a guy I wished we could redshirt. Darian Howard's a guy I wished we could redshirt. You know, we're redshirting about 17 guys right now, which is going to be good for the future. But those are two guys that you wished you could redshirt, but you just can't. You know, so until we get in position where we can, then you got to play.
Yeah. Patterson, I think it was probably back in Dallas in July, said about calling plays against offense in this league that he does maybe like audible eyes on defense if he has the time and they communicate it. How different is that from your perspective when you call something, but usually they don't audibilize on defense. It's basically like an offensive concept.
Well, where I see it happening a lot is with up-tempo teams, you know, that hurry up and act like they're going to snap it and then pull off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can get into some defensive audibles at that time. You know, I mean, you know, pertaining to the offense, I'm not quite sure where you're going with that. I mean, we don't do that as much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we get the right personnel in, we let it settle, we call the play. If we don't like it, then it's up to the quarterback to flip it to something else.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're a little handcuffed offensively with the inexperience that we have at quarterback. You know, defensively, we didn't have to face that against Kansas State. They were going to use up 40 seconds and snap the ball. TCU will push the ball. They know how they'll go fast, just like Texas Tech did, like Oklahoma State did.
But he doesn't, like if you call in the play or whatever and Clint gets back there, he doesn't signal in a play from the sideline because he sees something. It's not like, all right, you called this, let's change to this.
I'm not following you.
Okay. You call a play and you run out there, right? Does he?
You're talking about me offensively?
Yeah, and Patterson on the other side, if he sees something and reacts, and he said that maybe it was a tempo thing, but if there's time, he's going to try to change it to get into a better call. That doesn't sound like it's a very common thing.
No, you don't. It's not with all the tempo that's going on.
Right.
You can't. I mean, it gets difficult to be able to do that. You know, I mean, he's got his little play sheet like us offensively. We have our play sheet. You know, he looks at it. He sees what the personnel is. He picks from a collection of things. Like, for instance, he made this comment on, you know, facing Kansas State on third downs. You know, we were 0 for our last 6 or whatever it was, and we had a different coverage called on all 6. You know, so if it doesn't work, you try something else and you live with it. You can't. I think I know where you're going with it, Mike. But you can't. You're not going to win football games by calling perfect plays. You're not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can do your best. You can. You know, I will challenge anybody to, you know, to say they ever called anything close to a perfect game. I mean, you got to call plays to your best ability, and you got to try to get yourselves into the right plays based on what you think they're going to do on all 3 sides of the ball. But then, you know, there's a whole lot of you know, just executing the play, make it work. You know, I mean, if you're covered, then you need to fight for the ball and catch it. You know, if a guy's unblocked, then at some point you got to make the guy miss. I mean, you got to make plays. You got to execute. You got to execute the plays that are called. That's the one thing that we need to do a better job is just executing the calls consistently. You know, that takes time.
You said the offensive look doesn't change much when Casey's in there, but I mean, in terms of them being able to execute it, how much does that change having a more veteran guy back there?
Well, I don't know how much more veteran he is. I mean, you know, the other guy, the Boynton guy's played quite a bit of ball too. You know, I mean, he played the whole game against us last year. I mean, he played the whole year last year. You know, and he's played the majority of the snaps this year. So he's played more in the last year and a half than Paul Hall has. You know, obviously over the course of a 4-year span, you know, he's taken probably a few more snaps, but they're both experienced guys. They've both taken plenty of reps. They're both capable of getting in there, executing the offense, and moving the ball. Probably not at the consistency like I'm talking about in their mind that they'd like to see, but probably only a matter of time before that gets worked out.
And we've talked a lot about the quarterback play and the wide receiver play, you know, the skill stuff. But what I've seen when offenses aren't working an awful lot, it goes back to the offensive line play a lot. How is your line? I mean, it hasn't been discussed a whole lot. How is it held up and played?
It's like everything that I'm explaining with our football team. Just the consistency is not winning football, you know. And we have been improving up front. Quentin Spain played the best game he's ever played on Saturday. Okay, so you know, we have been getting better. Pat Edgar continued to get better. His first 16, 17 snaps was really good, you know, and then obviously he goes down. Orlowski, Pankey, Marquise are young. They're going to keep improving. You know, in my opinion, you know, Fight and Kindler, you know, they need to get better. You know, I think they took just a small step back this past week, and they know that, and their challenge is get out there and get better this week. It's just consistent. You're right. I mean, you know, you can have average receivers if you have a great offensive line. You know, I feel differently about the quarterback position, but you need good quarterback play regardless if you have a good offensive line or a bad offensive line. You know, the good quarterbacks can bail out a bad offensive line at times. Don't know if a great offensive line can bail out a bad quarterback at times. They're still inconsistent, still learning to play together, still improving. I am pleased with their effort, their attitude, their will to get better and continuously try to improve.
Dana, their defensive scheme is unique, 4-2-5. How unique is it compared to what you normally see? And does it change how you have to approach this week compared to other weeks?
Nah, seeing it quite a bit. A lot of similarities in what they did and what Kansas State did last week. You know, we'll know what they're doing. You know, they're not going to trick us with what they do defensively. That's not their gig. I mean, their gig's to play with effort, to know exactly, to match routes really well, to stop the run, you know, with great technique. Their pad level on their D-line is just outstanding. They get low and they push the pocket. So knowing what to do, you know, drawing up plays against it, I can come up with all kinds of schemes that work against it. It's the execution that's difficult. They're going to cover people. We're going to have to make plays when we're covered.
With regard to Clint, has he progressed as far as making checks at the line? I mean, from week to week, or at this point of the season, you pretty much stuck?
That ain't going to happen this year. I've come to terms with that. So he's going to do his absolute best in understanding the game plan, going out and trying to execute it the best he can.
It's more of an off-season type.
That's 100% off season. He needs to be able to take cut-ups from an entire year without the pressure of trying to prepare for an opponent, you know, and just be able to sit in a room and study it and then go outside and practice it for a couple of months and then go through all the spring ball and the whole summer. He's going to need that downtime, that off-season time in order to grasp what we're asking him to do, which is not surprising.
Sure.
Not surprising.
Would that be in the mental part, the physical part? When he misses some close throws like that, is it a mechanical thing? Is it just focus and being comfortable, or can you?
It's a combination of a lot of it, probably. You know, he had some issues last week, not trusting the offensive line as much as he should. He got antsy his eyes weren't in the right spot all the time. He skipped some reads. The communication was good. We fixed that. I mean, we don't have communication issues. I mean, we fixed that with, with reps and with practice. The continuity with the receivers will improve with time. Understanding how a guy comes out of this cut and that cut, and how to throw a specific route over the middle of the field or the deep throws. I mean, it's experience, it's practice, it's continuity, it's trust, it's development, it's mechanics, it's understanding the offense. It's a whole list of things. Nobody's got time or patience for it, but it's just reality.
Is he starting this weekend?
I would think so. We got practice today. We'll go evaluate it today and tomorrow. I put Paul in there because I felt like we needed a little bit of a spark. We got down 2 scores and had 12 points, and it was in the 4th quarter. So I put him in there to see if he could execute it. And he understands what we're trying to do probably a little bit better. So felt like it was worth a try. And he got in there and moved us a little bit, but obviously didn't finish it or put forth a winning performance. So we'll evaluate these guys in practice and see how they do.
Dane, have you seen bright spots from that relationship with the receivers the past couple of games?
Not like I want it to be. No, I thought we played our worst game at receiver 2 weeks ago. I thought we played okay. This week I don't have huge issues with what we did receiver-wise this week. Not a winning performance. It's not progressing like I want it to progress. I think everybody would agree with what we saw last week. Offensively, it wasn't a winning performance, so the answer would be no.
This game, though, because they seem to concentrate around the line and just lock their corners and defensive backs on you, is it a lot of just stretch them and take shots because they're going to be there and hope it works?
Pick your poison. I mean, you can take shots, but you got to win downfield. Looking at Texas, Texas took shots, but they had to win downfield. They didn't have wide open people downfield. You got to make plays downfield. Those shots that Texas took, they were covered, and they made those plays. So you got to make plays. Oklahoma State didn't take as many shots downfield. They sat in areas, and the space was very small. And Chelf did a good job of putting that ball in there in tight space, and their receivers made plays. So you're going to have covered people. You gotta make the plays, make the proper throws, make the proper decisions, and catch the ball and get upfield.
You said last week you didn't think it was really time to use bowl eligibility as a motivation for the team. Are you sensing a higher level of urgency in the locker room?
Well, we're getting closer. I mean, that number's sneaking up on us. So I guess based on the fact that number's sneaking up on us, probably. I mean, I feel like we got a lot to play for. Our kids feel like we got a lot to play for. What we do matters. We understand that. We have an obligation to put our best foot forward, get out there, practice hard, prepare hard, go put our best foot forward on Saturday, which our guys have done that. We have not finished well the last 2 weeks, but it's been competitive. That game was a lot more competitive than the final score indicated. It's not a moral victory by any means to say that we were in the game in the 4th quarter the last 2 weeks. That's not my point. We're battling. It's not a winning effort. We're battling. We're gonna do the same thing this week.
I see nothing up on the board, so are you starting over?
Starting over. Got 4 games left.
4 left, new season.
That's what we did. That's what we did defensively. I don't pay as much of attention that goes on over here as I do over here, but I know, that's what our message was Sunday. Just keep fighting, keep battling. We got a lot to play for. Let's stay united and get out there and prepare and practice and keep improving.
Dana, you mentioned Ford earlier. Best case scenario, could he still play in the regular season?
Possible. It's all about. In my opinion, he didn't do anything to lose the job. So he's going to have an opportunity to come back, and again, we would have to evaluate him in practice and see something that's worth putting out there on the football field, in a game situation. So he's not there this week. Keep improving. We got, I guess, 3 weeks, 3 games, and then an off week, and 4.5 to 5 weeks from now, we would be playing our last regular season game, so we'll see how he progresses. It might be next week, I don't know. Hope so.
Do you worry about Paul's kind of mentality of having to be the guy, not starting, but having to come in later in the game? Do you worry about that at all?
Backup quarterback?
Yeah, just having, do you have to be mentally strong to do that?
Yeah, I'd say so. It's what backups are. You know, I mean, you got to face, whether you like the decision, whether you don't like the decision, you got to understand what your role is. We talk about that a lot and as a team, you know, understanding what your role is, whether you're a starter, whether you're a backup, whether you're a scout team player or a red shirt guy, whatever it is. You know, accepting what your role is and doing what you can to try to help the team.
Not really TCU related, but one thing you've mentioned in the last couple times out has been facilities. Really quickly, I mean, since you've been here, one or two of the biggest things you feel you've accomplished facility-wise, and what are the next couple of big-ticket items you have on your list you want to see?
Well, you know, for me, I mean, not to get into a lengthy discussion here because it'd be lengthy, but what I worry about is because it affects recruiting. So the more glitz and glamour you can do, it affects recruiting. Okay, and we do happen to be a part of a conference that understands glitz and glamour and it being an arms race and all that. You know, so we gotta be cognitive of that. What I deal with on a day-to-day basis is what our players do on a day-to-day basis to get better. You know, which is meeting, lifting, eating, and practicing. So if you take that, you can probably figure out where I'm going.